What if your meditation wasn't about getting anywhere, but simply letting all illusions fall away? Because the moment you start meditating to get somewhere else or to become someone else, become someone better, then you've already reactivated the seeker and the idea of being the separate self. Real meditation and real stillness isn't about effort. It's more about surrendering into the core of your being, surrendering out of the illusion and into the truth of who you really are. And the deeper you go, the more clearly that truth reveals itself. Because I used to meditate on the idea of one day, hopefully, if I was worthy enough or if I developed myself enough, I would someday reach the truth of enlightenment. But it wasn't until I stopped trying to get somewhere or stopped trying to become someone that the fog started to clear, the illusion started to lift, and I finally began to see that that was all coming through the lens of separation. And because what you'll come to see is that there's actually no one there meditating at all. You are the meditation. You are meditation itself. You do not have a life. You are life. In this video, you're going to discover why a lot of modern meditation is still the separate self and the ego in disguise, how to recognize the seeker's presence during practice, and how true stillness eventually dissolves the illusion of a you who needs to awaken so you can become the meditation itself. Hi, my name's Todd. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I like to talk about all things consciousness, non-duality, and the hidden mechanics of reality. So if that resonates with you, be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with the new videos I released, because what I'm going to be doing moving forward based on the last meditation video I created, I'm going to be coming up with a meditation series that is a very in-depth explanation of various techniques that you can use to help get to the bottom of the I self so that the illusion can dissipate and things can be seen more clearly. So that's in the pipeline now. So subscribe and you'll be able to get notified as soon as they get released. So I want to talk about part of the hidden trap that you can find as you progress along this path and things start clearing up is what you'll find is the ego can get trickier and trickier in that it can start then latching on to the idea of spirituality and spiritual concepts in thinking that you're making progress in becoming the self that you already are. And again, this is where paradox comes into play that I've already made videos on in the past. And the paradox is that you already are what you're seeking. And so the way that the ego continues to perpetuate itself is that it latches on to the idea that there's more progress to be made, and therefore it can show up in your meditations and your intention for daily practice as that you still need to become something more to reach this mystical and mythical state of being enlightened. And what that does is it throws you ever so slightly off center and immediately draws you out of being the self because you buy into the idea that you already are not what you're seeking. And this is a very subtle trap that can start popping up for a lot of people who are very, very into spirituality in terms of they're actually deep into the practice, because the ego's tricks start getting more and more subtle. And the more subtle it gets, the more you can keep believing that you're in this cycle of constantly needing to develop or improve or get somewhere or become someone that you aren't already. It's important to have a look at different ways that the ego or the idea of the separate self, the illusion, can keep popping up even when we're thinking we're doing the most deep spiritual practice or we're doing the inner work. And as I said, it can show up in ways like going into a meditation thinking you need to become someone, going into a meditation thinking you need to escape the present. And that's really a big one, escapism. And certainly one that I had the experience of struggling with quite a bit is this idea of escapism, that where we were right now, whatever was apparently happening, whatever was apparently going on, wasn't already it. Because even as the apparent story is playing out, the true self is still always there. So the real question is, how can you be present with the self of who you really are while the story continues to play out even if it appears as a storm? How can you remain present during the storm? Because even if there's an outer storm in the outer illusion apparently happening, the self that's underlying everything is always perfectly still, silent, and completely unmovable and untouchable. And really what I found was that the very act of, even when I would get pulled into the illusion, which happened over and over and over again, as soon as I could remain present and then retract my awareness back from the separate self, from the idea of being the illusion, back into presence and awareness of who I really was, then I could let things play out as they were without needing to identify with it, and I could remain the calm even as the storm played out. Now, what you might find if your experience was anything like I was, is that the deeper you go into the I, the true self, present awareness, sometimes that storm can accelerate. And the reason I've found, in my experience anyway, is it accelerates because it wants you to push you back even further into present awareness. And in my experience, the storm just became so ridiculous, so laughable, that it really gave me no choice but to just remain in present awareness, because the illusion itself had turned into something like a ridiculous comedy. And funnily enough, what I found was that whenever I would remain present for long periods of time and remain in the stillness of who I really am, the truth of who I really am, more of what I was not, more of what I believed, more of what the ego believed it was through the lens of separate self, through the lens of being the separate self, is certain beliefs would bubble up to the surface, just like corks floating to the surface of the ocean, so they could be cleaned up. And this started happening automatically on autopilot, so they could come up and be released without me even really paying much conscious attention to it. I could observe it, and then eventually it would just clear like fog clearing in the sun. And now contrast this to when I was meditating through the lens of being the separate self, is I would have to actively go seeking and looking for all of these little distortions, these negative beliefs, these negative energy packets that were sitting within my field. I would have to look at them and go through what seemed like a lot of effort to try and clear just minor things or misalignments that I had bought into through listening to society or listening to and buying into other people's beliefs. And it would be a real effort to discover these and let it go. And what I realized is that you never really have to come out of present silence with the self, the true I, because everything will just play out as it's meant to, as it is, when you just rest in that present awareness. And really, all that needs to take place in meditation for it to be the highest meditation and truly effective is just to drop back, to sink into the I awareness that's behind all thoughts, all emotions, all feelings, all sense of identity, all sense of needing to do anything, needing to be anything, needing to go anywhere or escape, just be. And I totally understand that if you're new along this path or new to meditation and are having a bit of a hard time understanding what I'm trying to say, that's totally fine, because I was there as well. And that's exactly why I created this resistance mapping guide. That's my free gift to you. It's a 20 or 30-ish page step-by-step guide. And what it's going to do is it's going to help you start creating a map of the biggest core blocks or core beliefs, fundamental wounds that are sitting within your energy field and your subconscious that are not allowing you to fully be able to relax into the present moment and just be. Because the truth that I saw on my own journey, and certainly what's become more clear now, is that if the belief of being the separate self is strong enough, it feels like it's very unsafe to just rest in the I presence. And the various mechanisms and programs that you have embedded deep within the subconscious mind are so tied into the identity and the belief of being the separate self that it almost thinks it's helping you survive by staying out of the present awareness. And so if you're finding that even in meditation, if you're getting close to present eye awareness, the still mind, and all of a sudden erratic thoughts come up, negative loops come up, negative emotions start coming up, that's typically because operating system or the belief in being the separate self is kicking in, because it has the very, very real sense that if you go too far into this sense of I, that you're going to be annihilated. This, of course, is part of the illusion itself, but winding down that intense momentum is something that we can look at. And so that's why if you watch this far, I've included in the link below in the first line of the description, my 100% free step-by-step guide of resistance mapping. That's my gift to you for just being here. And that's going to help you start not only mapping out these intense core negative beliefs that are keeping you stuck in survival mode. I've also thrown in one of my most powerful bonus techniques, the golden thread technique, and that's going to step you through. Once you've identified them in your resistance map, you're going to be able to start working through them and shining that light of who you really are, the present awareness of self, on those negative beliefs so they can be pulled back into alignment. So definitely click the link in the description below and you're going to be able to download your copy 100% for free. Again, it's my gift to you. And so I want to leave off this video here just by saying the silence you're searching for can't be found through effort. It can't be found through becoming. It can't be found through escaping, because stillness, true presence, true peace and awareness is what remains when all of the doing just stops. All of the concepts that are throwing you out of what you already are just stop, because all of those things were always just a part of the illusion itself. Thanks for watching.